What's going on, guys? James here, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is very important to take into consideration when you're making coin or token purchases. That topic is being able to make the distinction between utility tokens, equity tokens, and coins that don't necessarily have any intrinsic value. So first up, we have utility tokens. I'm actually a really big fan of utility tokens because they're most likely to pass the Howey test and not be defined as securities under US law, which makes it very good for sustainable market growth in the United States and similar countries that have laws such as the United States. They're also very generally straightforward from an investor standpoint for what you're buying into. One very good example of a utility token would be a coin like Encryptgen, which allows you to use their DNA token to purchase access to genomic data stored in the blockchain. Another great example would be Substratum. You purchase a Substratum token and can use it to access the decentralized internet. Most utility tokens are actually built in the framework of Ethereum and are called ERC20 tokens. This is not necessarily true for all utility tokens though, because some launched their own named mainnet like Obsidian, but that one just did it because they wanted to make their coin more anonymous. So it's important to understand that there's not any sort of profit sharing that goes on with utility tokens. You might have 100,000 Chainlink or 50,000 Substratum, but that doesn't necessarily mean you get to reap the benefits and income that the company behind the technology earns. You are not a shareholder. You're banking on demand for the utility that the coin provides to increase to the point where it outweighs supply, causing a price increase. So the next kind of token is an equity token. So with equity tokens, these occur less common in crypto, but there's certainly a handful of them. With equity tokens, you get dividends paid out. One good example of this would be Modem. It pays dividends to token holders in Ethereum. Another great example is an exchange called Cost.io, which pays dividends in all the coins that get traded, like the fees that they take from the coins in the exchange, and they give it to them in the wallets of the Cost token owners. So equity tokens are actually a great buy if you're more of a traditional investor and like to see some tangibility behind your purchases. I actually have a theory that coins which offer equity are more resistant to Bitcoin and altcoin market crashes because they still offer dividends despite whatever craziness occurs in the crypto markets. So finally, I'd like to talk about the most speculative and risky type of coin purchases, which is of course coins with no intrinsic value. Bitcoin's probably the largest and most known example of a coin with no intrinsic value. Some people do argue that the electricity and computational power that's used to mine Bitcoin gives it value, and that's somewhat of a legitimate point, but at the end of the day, the only thing that's giving Bitcoin its value is the market's confidence in the value. Some other examples of coins with no intrinsic value would be like Dash, Litecoin, Vercoin, and there's many others. At the end of the day, it's important to recognize and understand exactly where you're throwing your money at. The market doesn't always act rational, but eventually shit does tend to correct back to where it belongs. And I mean, just look at fucking Ripple for a great example of that. RIP.